All right. Let me what's up? I'm using some new software and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna tell y'all straight up. I do not know what I'm doing. Trying to figure this out. Can y'all hear me okay? How does this sound? Yes, I'm losing weight. I'm trying to get up to running 3 times a day. I have to go back to the old school of losing weight. Just pound it out. Pound it out. What is going on, man? How does it sound? Yes, I'm losing weight. I run. Okay. Got it. Very clear. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'm using some new equipment, so forgive me. I'm trying to learn how to use it. I'm traveling right now, so I had to go buy some stuff, some kind of like broadcast stuff that'll let me travel and broadcast because really wasn't expecting to come to Dallas, so I didn't bring my stuff with me. And I listened to the webinar I did last night, and the audio on it was terrible. So I had to go get me a mic. Um, so I'm glad this is coming through. Everything's coming through real nice. So uh, the name of this is "Don't File Paperwork You Do Not Understand." And what made me want to go do this is, I've been I'm doing classes again. And if you didn't, wasn't that class last night, you missed something. I sent out a email. If you're on my email list, I sent out an email with a free link for everybody who wanted to participate. I will put a link under this video when this video is done as well. So if you're not on the email list, there will be a link. You can attend the webinar. It's going to be at 9 o'clock, so it's in about another hour. It's going to commence, and that's Central Time. I'm in Texas. But I did this "Don't File Paperwork You Don't Understand" because it is my contention that you should never, ever deal with any paperwork that you don't know every word on the paper, what it means. And that means that you took the time to actually look the word up and find out what it means. That needs to be a practice of yours. People don't come and ask me questions about something they copied out of a book. And then I'll ask them, well, do you know what this is? And if they don't know, then why are you even asking me a question? You didn't even take the time to even try to find out the name of this, that you're doing. So I'm just telling everybody that, you know, don't deal with paperwork you don't understand. Why even don't even start something if you don't understand it? A lot of people start something and they don't understand it. They'll start an administrative process and don't know what they're doing. I never did an administrative process until I understood completely what it was from A to Z. I never did an administrative process until I learned what it was A to Z. And by the time I learned how to do it, it was a wrap. But that was the only thing I wanted to say, and I wanted to make an announcement. We are having class tonight. If you want to come to class, like I said, I'm going to put a link at the end of this when it's over. As a matter of fact, can I do it now? Let me see if I can put the link on here now. If I can put the link on here now. Yeah, I can put the link on here now. So when I put this link up, just refresh your browser. Yeah, this is it. No, that's not it. That's not it. Yep, that's it. Wednesday, October 5th. So I'm putting the link in the description. Okay, I just put the link in the description. So if you refresh this video, you can click on the link and join the webinar for tonight. All right, now I'm open for questions. Let me look in the chat and see what we have. Let's get the likes up. Likes up. I really feel like if there's 200 people, there should be 200 likes. But I already know the ratio. I think the ratio is about I forgot the exact ratio. That people who actually like videos, it's you can see it. It's everything is numbers. Everybody's not going to do it, but we appreciate the likes, and you can comment and so forth. All right. So you have my attention. If you asked me a question in the chat, I did not see it. I'm only looking at the chat at this point on. So let's see. Oh, it said pin the link in the comments too. Let me do that. Yeah, I pinned the link in the comment section too for you. It's in the comments too. It's in the comments. It's probably much easier to just get the answer to questions from you than it is to put it in the work. I mean, you still that might be true, but you got to understand it. Don't. It was only 12 a few minutes ago. Can you please explain what is a 401A? Now I don't know what a 401A is. I don't know. I don't know what a 401A is. I thought we were talking about privatization and secure party. That's what I'm here to teach you. I'm not here to talk about taxes or anything or how I'm gonna get you some free shit or nothing like that. We can talk about, if you want to discharge a debt, I'm open for that. If you have something related to your status, I'm open to that. But you start trying to ask me what type of tax, man, you know how many IRS tax forms there are? I don't know all the fucking IRS tax forms. It's like, there's no way. But I will say this, there's a lot of answers in the IRS employee manual. So I always make a point to make sure you check, and it's on the internet. You can go through and you can learn a lot, just reading the IRS employee manual. All right, so what we got? Okay, there's a lot of questions right here. Can you please explain what is equitable title? Equitable title is the title the beneficiaries have. They have an equitable interest in the property. All right, you have legal title and equitable title, and that title is with the trustees, and they have the liability. The equitable title does not have any liability. They have a right to a distribution, a prorated distribution. They have a right to a prorated distribution from the trust. All right, their interest. Now, law will say that technically the property belongs to the beneficiaries because as soon as the trust terminates, all the property in it reverts to the beneficiaries. That's the equitable title. They have it in it as well. But during the course of the trust, that title is vested in the trustees, and it is a basic principle of trust law that the trustees have all the liability. You can shift that liability from the trustees to the corpus of the trust by including within the trust indenture agreement some sort of clause that basically states that, and that will make your trust more attractive for higher level trustees. But equitable and legal title, you got the legal title and equitable title. So that title, like I said, one title is with the trustees and one is with the beneficiaries. Well, I mean, I guess that was a trust question that you were asking me. I don't know. Yeah, let's see. Is a rental agreement and a mortgage the same thing? No. Should use a minute. Let's see. Okay. I'm in Black's Law right now and use Google Scholar, and I'm not getting a clear answer. Is there any contract that doesn't require full disclosure? Yes, call it. Well, you have implied contracts. What do you mean? You was in Black's Law and you didn't see the definition of an implied contract? I can look at it. I can look it up right now on Google. Implied contract is based off your conduct, which ignorance of the law is no excuse. Implied contract. An implied contract is a legally binding obligation that derives from actions, conduct, or circumstances of one or more parties in an agreement. It has the same legal force as an express contract, which is a contract that is voluntarily entered into and agreed on verbally or in writing by two or more parties. So, yeah, you got other types of contract. You got that's a long question to get into. Let me say, how can I get a consultation live in Alpharetta when I get back in town? If you want a consultation with me, cash at me at Yusef19. Leave your phone number in the message and a date and time that you'll be available. All right. Let's see. What's your thoughts on A for V? I mean, yeah, A for V. I mean, the best book on A for V that has been written is Byron Beer's What Does Acceptance for Value Mean? And he gives a very, very clear and insightful explanation of what acceptance for value is. Essentially, in that book, which is very well written and gives you it's very a technical read, is not an easy read. But he's demonstrating or graphing how private credit comes from the private over into the public, and what type of you have offer and consideration when you're in a contract, and what consideration both parties are getting on each side. All right, what you're receiving in the private, you're receiving in the private a right. You're extending private credit into the public to get access to things in the public, and they are getting a right because they are receiving some value from you from the private that allows them to keep operating in the public, because in the public all the money is dead money. All right, so what is constituting money is value from having some sort of interest in things, which usually comes in the form of some kind of lien. All right, so once you get an interest in things, that is what is being used as money. All right, now once you understand that, now you can begin to understand how the criminal justice system works when they put a charge on you, which is a lien, and if there's a value associated with that, and how they can discount that and sell it on the markets. Because value or money creation is created through signature when somebody agrees to be some sort of obligor on a debt. I hope I said that the right way. I hope I didn't get it confused or twisted. But essentially, that's it in a nutshell. So when you're accepting for value for something, there's something called accepted for assessed value too. So you have accepted for value when you don't know what the amount is, and then you have accepted for assessed value when you know what the amount is. And yes, accepted for value is something that is legal because there isn't any money. This is a debt-based system. I only reason it keeps operating the way that it does because y'all out there all think that there's money. You really think Federal Reserve notes is some kind of real money, and Federal Reserve notes is an IOU, is a promise to pay. This is not real money. It's $100 bill right here. This is not real money. I just had one laying right here. This is not real money. It says on $100. I mean, the more I look at these things, the cheaper they look. Federal Reserve note. I mean, they just look like, they don't even look impressive at all. It doesn't have hardly any writing on it or anything anymore. It just says $100, United States of America, Federal Reserve note. That's it. So you can get anybody to owe you some money. Now we have value that can be traded on the markets. Labor, and at the end of the day, all of these promissory notes are resting on labor. which is the American people, the taxpayers, because all the property's already been hawked all off. They own everything. They already own everything. That's why y'all all got mortgages on your homes and all kind. They own everything. You pay property tax. You have to register your cars. They own everything. We didn't have any other property to give them. The only thing that they could hawk off to the creditors now are your children. And that's what they do when they're born with the birth certificate. And they found, I actually had met some people. They said when their children are born, they filed paperwork at 7 different agencies in Washington, D.C. And I can understand that. I get you get in front of that. That makes sense. That makes all the sense in the world to me. I don't know exactly what those 7 agencies are, but I could guess. I could say that definitely the Treasury Department, the IRS, the Social Security Administration, the Comptroller of the Currency, hell, maybe the President of the United States. You know, everybody, anybody that you can think of. You give them some sort of notice because they're operating off of a presumption that you're a U.S. citizen. And I think that there needs to be definitely some paperwork in their files that when your children are born, basically telling them that your children are not, you don't elect them to be a U.S. citizen. They're not voluntarily electing to do that. What would happen if someone take the birth certificate to court and said dismiss these charges? Was I got the Sesticade Vi Trust instrument right here. I get so tired of y'all saying the Sesticade Vi Trust. I mean, first of all, I don't subscribe to that philosophy, the Sesticade Vi Trust, because y'all talking about coming over for England and all of that. I don't even get into that kind of discussion. I look at it as a legal fiction entity. If anything, it is a constructive trust that's utilized in equity. Let's use some basic language that's modern. Let's not go back in time and speculate. All right, because that's just all speculation. I don't want to get into any speculation or anything like that. Let's deal with the legal proceeding as it is today. Okay, it could be termed a constructive trust, which is a legal fiction because they are all these are legal fictions. Okay, a legal fiction is an assumption that something is true, even though it may not be true, but especially in judicial reasoning to alter how legal rule operates. Which makes it almost seem like you're lying or something like that. But we're dealing with constructs of the mind. And they created some sort of entity, all right, in all caps, that is representing you. It's an item sonin. It sounds just like your name. However, back to your question, if you went, that is some old school stuff. People going to in there and dropping the birth certificate into the well of the court and walking away. If you do that today, most likely your ass is probably going to get locked up. All the stuff that worked yesterday, it's not going to really work today. What are y'all thinking? They watching all these videos and then seeing, how many people have tried to do that? They have meetings that they have. Okay, every year, about twice a year. They even put out a publication and they talk about all the ways that people come into the court. So I'm here teaching you, I'm not here teaching you shit to do shit that everybody did a long time ago and everything like that. I'm teaching you to understand principles and understand this stuff so you can think on your feet. So when you're in that particular situation, you'll know what to do. All right. Basically, because you know certain principles, like there is a public and a private, and they do not mix. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to establish that you are a private American citizen, meaning that you are not an acceptor of any benefits or privileges from the federal government. Because you come in there talking about, oh, I'm not, you don't have any jurisdiction over me, and your children are in public school, or you got a driver's license in your pocket, or you got bank accounts that you open with social security numbers. They're gonna lock your ass up, and deservedly so. All right, because under the Ash rule, Randall Rule number 5, you cannot accept the benefit and the privilege from government and then challenge the constitutionality of it. That equity will not accept that in good conscience. So you need to do something first of all before you do anything like that to establish notices with the government. Just walking in with your birth certificate, I've done that. They do like the birth certificate. Does have some sort of value. It does, but they're not going to. They're going to want to. They don't want the public to see that or anything like that. Does it still work? I really don't know. Would I advise you to do it? No. Not if I would advise you to follow a process where you give them notice of how you're intending to come into court. I would have tried to get the original matrix. It's the matrix of whatever charging instrument they have, the original instrument. In the case of a criminal action, it would be the indictment. and see if that I can endorse that over to them. The birth certificate, you don't take the actual birth certificate in there. That's why we have a secure party process where we make a bond that represents the birth certificate. We let them know that we have the birth certificate in our possession. That means we're the holder in due course of that document. As such, we are appointing them as a fiduciary trustee. It's called a UCC contract trust account. And we're making a bond and giving a value to it based off of that birth certificate, which represents your labor, that you're an American citizen, you're a living, breathing person capable of performing labor. Okay, the value of that labor we can determine because a workman is worthy of his hire. We can say we're worth anything we want. All right, we have a minimum wage, but there's no such thing as a maximum wage. Okay, and then we put a bond on file with the Treasury Department because the Treasury Department is the one that has agreed to discharge your debt dollar for dollar according to ACR 192 of June 5th, 1933, Public Law 73-10. Okay, so it's a private process that we set up with the Treasury Department. So if you're going to come into courtroom, you need to come in and make some sort of statement to the effect that you accept the charges for value and consideration, and you're not going to dispute any of the facts contained in the charging instrument, and that you're offering your exemption for offset and adjustment of the public charges, and ask them to release the order of the court to you immediately. Hope that answers your question. All right, what we got? Let's see. Headed A for V for a court charge. Got a letter from the courts that read, "We have received your correspondence, but we could not process it for the following reasons." Okay, you do an A for V. What instrument did you give them? A for V is just telling them what you're going to do. That's not the thing you do. That's why you give them a negotiable instrument. You give them a bill of exchange, a promissory oath. That's why this other individual was talking about coming in there with a birth certificate. That's he's coming in there as if that is a negotiable instrument that has value, capable of adjusting their books and balancing their books. When you shouldn't be doing that, and you'll have to do that. You would never give your birth certificate to anyone. That don't even make no sense. That don't even make no sense. You know, some of that stuff from the old school, a lot of it didn't make sense. What you're going to find out, a lot of it did make sense and a lot of it didn't. Because a lot of y'all listen to people who are not very bright. There are individuals that can posture themselves as intelligent. Hell, even me, maybe I could be categorized as that because I don't know everything. But when I look at some people and the things that they follow and some of the things that are out there, some of it do sound crazy and look crazy. It's like this not. That's why you should start with basic principles. If you start with if you start with the principles, if you're going to play basketball, the first thing you got to do is learn to dribble. You can't come into basketball and say, "Look, I'm going to make 50 points a game. I'm gonna have 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists every game and everything." And you can't even dribble the ball or go left or don't even know the rules to the game or anything like that. It's like with anything, you got to start off slow and learn the rules to the game and then progressively go. But a lot of people just want to jump in because you have some exigent circumstance that it needs immediate attention, and you think that you can apply these remedies to that without having a full understanding of it. And this has led to having a bad name. It's giving this information a bad name. And they coining phrases like sovereign citizen, which is ridiculous. All right, that is an insult to the American people. That's an insult to the legacy of this country that was established as a republic, and the people were called sovereign. Okay, if we go in back and look at Chisholm versus Georgia, which all your attorneys, they don't even teach y'all what the first Supreme Court case was. All right, the people are sovereign, and the 11th Amendment didn't change a goddamn thing. Okay, because the creation can never usurp the creator. Okay, the people in government, were given power and authority from us, the American people. And for you to have any sort of sovereignty, we had to have had sovereignty. And your sovereignty is a qualified sovereignty according to the Constitution that rests within the territorial jurisdiction you have where you have plenary power. See, these other people don't understand when it says the United States has sovereignty. I understand what it means when they say it has sovereignty. And that don't mean sovereignty over the American people. Maybe over U.S. citizens who use social security numbers and are acceptors of benefits and privileges. Maybe you have jurisdiction over them, but the others who are self-reliant and self-sufficient and don't want to accept anything from you, you don't have any authority over them, especially if they haven't hurt anyone or their property. That's being real. And for a public servant to come forward and try to challenge that and say anything to the contrary, he sounds like a traitor to me, and you need to be put in front of a firing squad. because that's what you're attempting to do. Because I would caution you to get a thorough understanding, okay, of what a public servant is versus a private citizen of this country. Everybody in government, they are there to represent their constituency. They are representatives. You're supposed to be doing the will of the people, and right now you're manipulating that with news media. It's being manipulated. The will of the people is being. Can you direct me? What is this? Suspicious statement is what they call a defective note. Okay, let's see. I don't know. I'm just picking stuff now. I have a dual citizen. Let's see. Do you have a direction to look for the most succinct explanation regarding the use of capitalization and the name specifically? There is a book. It's a court document. It's I forgot the name of it, but it's actually a book that the courts put out, and where they talk about the reasons for using capitalization. I can't think of it off the top of my mind. That's a very good question, but that should be a hint to you. All right, that the courts have actually a manual that gives direction on how to do things. But I'll tell you this: I was helping somebody, and they were an immigrant, and they had charges, and they gave me their discovery, and on there was a Homeland Security document that asked them how long they're going to be in the country, how much money they brought, and everything. Well, what was really interesting, that document had an OMB number on it, as well as the fact that it required that they capitalize the name. It told them specifically on there to capitalize the name, which I thought was very interesting. But what I saw was that when you come into the country on a short-term basis, you're actually promising, you're giving your word that the reasons that you're putting on that application are true. And that's a bond. They're making a bond out of that. And then when they arrest you, they cash in that bond. It was really interesting. It's interesting when you learn this information, how you see things with a different set of eyes of what's going on. Everything is about money. If you don't think everything is about money in this world, at least on the physical plane, not on the mental and the spiritual. The mental and the spiritual are the ones that guide the money and direct the money and attract the money to you. Money is just energy. But everybody's trying to get everybody's energy. That's why everybody's vying for the attention of the people, because you can't get that energy without attention. So everybody's trying to direct the attention. They get jealous, like when somebody like an Andrew Tate comes along and he starts garnering a whole lot of attention. Then they want to shut that down, especially if they don't like what you're saying, if it goes contrary to what they want the world to be. These people talking about a new world order as if they have some right to order the world the way they want to. In the protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, it said something very interesting. It said that right is might. They let you know right there, might is right. Might is what equals to right. They got all the guns. So yeah, we're going to do what they tell them to do. All right. So, and then they want you to give up your guns, and some of you dummies going to do it too. Some of you dummies going to do it. When setting up a business, is it best to list a separate entity like a trust as the registered agent instead of our straw man as a social security number? Oh, that's a very good question. I don't know if they allow you to do that, because it's got to be a resident within that state that has to act as the registered agent. So I've never tried that before. The registered agent is the one that just simply accepts service of process. So I don't see the big deal putting it as a trust. Uh, I don't see the purpose for that. I don't see the purpose for that. It don't make any sense to me. I don't see what you're trying to hide that for. The registered agent just simply receives service of process. So just keeps you informed of what's going on. That's your liaison between the state and yourself. You can try it. I don't know. Here's my Zelle info and how much is a consultation. I use Cash App. It's $Yusef L19. Or you can PayPal me at paypal.me/Yusef L. You can use PayPal too. Let's see. True sets you free. Hold on. Let's see. The coupon they sent me turned into a money order to pay the Treasury Department except for value, return for value. It further went to say the court is not taking. Well, okay. Well, it's not going to say you're not going to get a pushback. You crazy. You don't think you're going to get a pushback. The thing about it is when you get a pushback, and you turned it into a money order, which says right there in the IRS employee manual, they don't take money orders anymore. They don't take none of that stuff, promissory notes, but they will accept bills of exchange. And that's why I'm telling you that you need to read the IRS employee manual. But since you use the money order, which they should take, okay, because it is a dead instrument like anything else, you got to ask them, am I to understand, are you willfully violating public policy? That's a violation of public policy. That's why you have a UCC 3-603B. Okay, so don't get, you sitting, like I said, why are you doing a discharge in an administrative process when you don't know how to answer a pushback? Just you asking me that question means you shouldn't even been doing it. You shouldn't even been doing it. You should have been doing it if you don't know how to handle a pushback. Because if you've read anything on this subject, everybody talks about what to do with a pushback. So you haven't even read any of that. Or is this just some sort of test question that you're asking me, trying to, create a conversation? But let's go. Let's see. Could you try to simply explain the importance of the administrative process to establish the facts on record? You have to have an agreement. Facts are agreements. All right. It's in the spirit of Matthew 5:25 when it says, agree with your adversary while you're on the way to court. At least he hand you over to the judge hand you over to the bailiff, and the bailiff casts you into prison. I'll tell you, you will not come out until you pay the very last penny or farthing. What the spirit of that is, you're establishing what the facts are. Okay. That they do it to you. What do you think they're doing when the prosecutor comes and offers you a plea deal? He's doing an administrative process against you. He's getting you to take a deal where you will agree to all the facts that he has, and he hands them over to you, your attorney, and wants you to sign off on it. You're doing the same thing. You're hitting them back with your offer. Here's my offer, okay? And you need to accept it. And if you can't offer it or offer some sort of counter offer that makes sense within the bounds of the law, okay, then your silence is going to be construed as acceptance of all the contents of this correspondence. And I'm going to go into court and I'm going to seek some sort of summary judgment and to stop you from trying to raise some sort of defense at that time in a court of equity. It's very important. Court is paperwork. You're just holding court. It's paperwork. Court, you have a courtroom, but court is handled on paper. That follows the principle: for a matter to be resolved, it must be expressed. That's the importance of it. Notice I always hit you with have y'all noticed I always hit you with a principle? I'm always coming back to the principles, because all these laws that they've written, every last one of them rests on some sort of principle. There has to be some sort of principle of law supporting it. So you need to know the principle. Too many of you are preoccupied with the methodology. It's the principles that you got to master. And then you can understand the methodology. If you understand the principle, you know what the trust creating bonds and being sold, QIBs. No, I don't know nothing about that, and you don't either. Just something you heard. If the IRS doesn't take money orders, then a bill of exchange is required to set off charges. So the A4V order method changed from what everyone once knew. I mean, maybe for you, but it ain't changed. It's always been like that. I mean, you got the exemption and using your exemption with Moses Washington, and that's what he got in there, a bill of exchange, and that was written over 25 years ago, I think, or something like that. So I don't know what's changed. I don't know what you're talking about, because everything I've read, it's always been the same way. It's always been the same way. Ain't nothing changed. And I just gave you the two documents. You can read and see that for yourself. And I can give you some other ones too. If the let's see, where we going? How to handle pushback? No performance. Yeah. Thank you for your latest videos. Have an awesome because you've been bringing in the natural law principles. Thank you. Hi, Yusef. I emailed you the digital magazine. Yeah, I've been seeing your email. I got it. Is it best to submit your notary default in the court or federal, in the county or federal? I mean, it depends, you need to do it within what is called term of court, in the same term of court. I would file it in the state level. You can always move it to the federal level. Depends on what is it a federal question? That determines whether or not you file it there as well. Does the feds have jurisdiction over it? Is a federal question. But I filed in the county. I filed in the county in the term that she completed it. Let's can you facilitate the SBC process for me in St. Lucia? I was born in the USA. Oh no, I'm not doing no paperwork, baby. I ain't doing that. Is there a way to get the passport if you're on child support? I don't think so. No, because you got to understand that that's looked at as a privilege. You can only enforce a right. They say you have a right to travel, which you do. And I actually read a document. It was a law review where they were discussing the constitutionality of requiring people to have a passport to travel. It shouldn't be that way, but because of national security, it kind of trumps. The doctrine of necessity kicked in, and they allowed it to trump that. Um, so basically, they have it in their statutory codes. Receiving a passport is a statutory event. So like I said, it's a public and private. That's within their jurisdiction. You can't force them to do anything. The thing you need to do is go after the child support because that's a debt collection, and they fall within the purview of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. The child support, I found out recently, they do a lot of stuff they ain't supposed to do. Like when these women leave a state and don't have permission and go to another state and put you on child support, that needs to be challenged because, first of all, she's in that state illegally. And to be able to do that, she's going to go through the child support within that state. And you don't have no contract with them for them to be trying to collect child support. It's just things like that, that you gotta look into. But, child support is a debt collection, and they take that taking care of the children very seriously. That comes from the principle. It's called the public charge doctrine. See, a single mother on welfare is a public charge. That means that she is a burden to society or burden to the public because they got to take care of her. That's why they don't like to let certain immigrants into the country. That's part of the public charge doctrine too. Because if your country is notorious for people committing crimes and coming over here, you're going to become a criminal if you come over here, or you're going to become a homeless person and get on welfare. Why would they let you come over here if that's going to happen? So, because they don't need people being a burden to society. So, when you don't take care of your children, okay, then the government has to do it. Now, you're putting the burden on the government that is really your burden. And that is why they are so adamant about child support. You know, I can only now I can say that if the mother requests it be taken off, it can be taken off. But they making a lot of changes on stuff, but I don't see how you could because, like I said, it's a statutory event. It's not a right. And that's why I was giving you the background about a right to travel because it seems like you think you have some sort of right to the passport. And in a sense, you do have a right to travel, but like I said, they got national security is going to trump everything. If everybody just could freely egress back and forth across borders without unencumbered or unmolested, terrorism is the order of the day. After the APA, do you file a habeas? How do I plead? I don't know what that means. I have. I guess you mean habeas. I'm not understanding what it is. Let's talk about it. Somebody said it's all illusionary. Let me talk to that real quick because I've heard somebody say it like because and the word Maya means illusion. All right, but this is why it's very necessary to understand natural law and understand the seven principles. Yes, it is illusionary. It's illusionary because it changes. Okay, that's what illusion means. Illusion doesn't mean that it's some sort of figment of your imagination. Illusion means that everything in creation is malleable, that is subject to your mind, and you can shape it and shift it however you want because it's nothing but a cluster of atoms, protons, and neutrons and electrons that have a vibratory frequency that responds to mental thought. And the mental acuity of that thought can shift that form into every kind of way that you want. So that's why they call it illusion. And then the only thing that is real is the creator of the boundless universe, because he is unchangeable. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The reason he's unchangeable because there's no exterior force that can work change on God. If so, then that would be God. So there's no exterior force that can work change on God. So God is all powerful, all knowing, and all powerful, all knowing, and all present. Okay, so this is where these concepts come from. So when you say something is illusionary, okay, it's only illusionary meaning that it's subject to change. Change. The only thing that doesn't change is change. And the reason it can change is because we're in a sea of vibratory forces, and you have to learn how to master that. You have to learn how to master these forces, so life will go with the way that you want. You're all private bankers. Private banker just means that you're doing banking in the private. It just means that when you write a promissory note, you're private banking. When you write a bill of exchange, you're private banking. You're all private bankers. You just don't know it. You just don't know it. You're all private bankers. You're doing banking in the private. That's what the whole secure party process is. It's a private banking process. That's why you're putting a bond on deposit with the Treasury Department and giving them notice of the negotiable instruments, their numbers that you will be utilizing. You're also allowing them an opportunity to rebut or challenge what you're doing, or tell them that, hey, this is not good. Okay, which they won't do if you do everything correctly, because beggars can't be choosy. You just hit them off with a $200 million bond, while y'all might pretend like it doesn't mean anything. It means a lot to them because it has guarantors on it, and has fingerprints, and has signatures on it. They give value to it, like any other bond floating around out there, the same damn thing. And it's also securitized. Let's see. I love your videos. I would never question your knowledge. The chat doesn't allow to post an entire question. Okay, all right, no problem. Wardship status. You said that's totally not true. What's totally not true? You mean it's totally not true? What's totally not true? Add it in the chat. Tell me what's totally not true. Cecil Austin. He said something's totally not true. I participate in public controversy. Sometimes it depends on the situation. Sometimes remedies in the public are better than private remedies. I mean, you gotta pick your battles. I mean, sometimes you get a public remedy faster. For instance, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example when I'm talking about. Say you get a speeding ticket for, and you went 30 miles over the speed limit. No, let's say 20 miles over the speed limit. This ticket is, and you're gonna get points. And what you're really concerned about is points on your driver's license, which is going to cause your insurance to go up. Okay, couldn't you just use? You could use a service like Off the Record. It's an app that you can download. I'm giving you something for real. It's called Off the Record. And hire an attorney, because you got money. You pay this attorney $170, and they go in there, and you just pay a little fine, and it don't appear on your record, and you go on about your business. See, to some people, that's the easy, quick way to do it. They don't want to be bothered going in there, going back and forth to court, filing paperwork, getting in an argument with a judge, trying to show him where he's wrong or anything like that. If you have the resources just to make this thing go away, why not make it just go away? You know what I'm saying? So you got to pick and choose your battles. See, I'm a sensible person. I'm not going to come sit up here and try to front in front of you and act like I do this all the time, every day, all day, or something. A lot of people, I think that about me, and I've said several times in other. I say I'm not going to sit here and do that. You know how much work that is to be doing. Trying to do administrative processes and all that, constantly arguing. I used to be in court twice a week doing stuff. It was consuming my whole life. It's like, nah, man, I'm leave that to the younger guys now that want to do it. I'm not going to be doing that every day. What you need to be doing and what you should be doing is spreading this information and waking up the American people so we can stop what they're doing. That's what really my ultimate goal is, to educate enough people to make them understand the truth of what is going on, so it can be addressed. Because right now it's not even being addressed. They have an election every year. All they talk about is bullshit. They talk about racism and stuff like that. Nobody talks about the national debt. Nobody's talking about who owns it. Nobody's talking about any of these things that they're doing. They catch all up on bullshit. Men want to become women. They want to cut off people's penises and bullshit like that. These are political. These are the political things that y'all engage in. Just stupidity. They just distract you. They just throw a whole bunch of stupidity out there and let y'all scramble over that. And then the real things that need to be dealt with in contemplation of world domination is over here, and you'll never, and then they steal some money too. They got like, hey, let's put together a $2 trillion, healthcare bill, and get this money and put out some programs, some welfare programs, so me and my cronies can get some money, so we can head up these programs and get all this free money and make y'all responsible for paying it back, because we did it for you. We did it all for you. We did. They got something in there for gender identification. When did anybody ever have a problem identifying their gender? When did anybody in the history of this planet ever have a problem identifying their gender? You see how stupid they think you are? They have to think you stupid to put something like that out and think they can get it off. They think they can get that off, man. I think they can get that off. We got to use a different pronoun. I'm already seeing the bathrooms, unisex bathrooms. I'm going to places. You go in the bathroom, it's for a man or a woman now. They just say, "Fuck it, we ain't gonna make no male bathrooms and female bath. We just go, just this motherfucker just gonna say bathroom, and a male or female can go in this bitch and use it." They just like it's incredible, man. How can you be this weak minded? How can you be this facile minded? This weak minded and allow them to get this off, man. Come on, man. Let's see. When you take an administrative process to court, you are asking the judge to enter a summary judgment on the facts contained in the process. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because they had an opportunity. They had an opportunity then, and they refused to take it. But you're doing this in an equity court now. You should seek some sort of. It's advisable to seek a judicial review of your process before you do that. That's what I would advise you to do. To get a declaratory judgment first. You got to put some teeth in it. Let me see what y'all got. So somebody says, since it's a violation of public policy for an agency to ban a particular species of currency to satisfy an obligation, how is it the IRS is able to do so to satisfy an obligation? Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you like this: they have something in there to address people like who say, well, you can't tell us what kind of negotiable, and which really they shouldn't, because it's against public policy. They send it to the criminal investigation division of the IRS, which is not nothing necessarily to be afraid of, because that division is known to discharge debt. That's like the cover for discharging debt. So, like I said, everything's a process. I can't say exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So I don't even try. People always ask questions like I know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know. But I do know that what what things will work, it'll go down a certain avenue and it'll work, and you won't think it was supposed to work going down that avenue, and it worked. And that's because you got a guy like Douglas Riddle. His name is Douglas Riddle. You put his name in Google and the YouTube search and pull him up and listen to him. His name is Douglas Riddle. way back in the day, he was talking about the Criminal Investigation Division and the IRS, and so does Byron Beers and what does acceptance for value mean. They give you some good information on the Criminal Investigation Division. So when I read the IRS Employee Manual and it says they don't take promissory notes, but if you hit them back and say, hey, HGR 192, June 5th, 1933 says that you have to accept it, then they forward it to the Criminal Investigation Division. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't accept it. It's just like the employees there, they can't accept it, but they send it to another division and let them handle it. Man, I'm getting all this from, just reading the IRS employee manual. It's not nothing I'm saying. I just read it. I just read it. You can go read it too. All right. If you use Federal Reserve notes, they are due their tax. They are. Federal Reserve notes is their property. It's theirs. That's why I said when you learn public and private, you'll begin to understand things. I think a lot of people, because they don't understand public and private, they think they have rights in the public that they don't necessarily have because they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. See, they got everybody in the United States of America. They've trained and programmed them to think they're a U.S. citizen. So everybody acts like that. A U.S. citizen is wholly in the public. So people are used to operating in the public. They go to public school. They get public welfare, public assistance. They hear this word public all the time, and they think they are in the public. This is why somebody wrote a document called "The Republic is a House No One Lives In," because all the people's status has shifted from the republic into this democracy that ain't in the Constitution anywhere. That word is not in the Constitution. Democracy is mobocracy. It is mob rule. It is ruled by the many. That's why this press secretary of Joe Biden, she just made a statement talking about, if the majority of people think this way and you think somewhere else, you're an extremist. She's trying to call you a terrorist because you don't have a hive mind, or you're not like with a mind, you're not a sheep like the rest of everybody else. Right? That ain't how this country was established. This is a free country. We are a free country. We have independent thought. We have freedom of speech. These are the things we have. But it's slowly being taken over by corporations, corporate interests. And these people are beginning to get more and more bold and try to tell you how you're supposed to act and think. They're forgetting that they're public servants and they need to be reminded of such. Just my thing. If you're somebody in the public and you're watching this, your child can't become a SPC if they're under 18 because these are dealing in contracts, and under 18 you can't deal with a contract. You put your children on your process yourself. I miss when you used to be able to call in. Are you ever going to set that up? I would, but I'm not in my studio. I'm on the road. I'm on the road right now. I'm on the road, so I don't have the stuff to take calls right now on the road. So I just set this up. So I just got a mic, man. I just went up to Best Buy, got a mic, and and a Logitech camera, 4K camera, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So you know, Yusef, can a immigrant from the lands use his or her birth certificate from the lands to set up a UCC1? No, you can't. No, you wasn't born here. Immigration certificate works just like a birth certificate. That is evidence that your birth certificate ain't evidence that you're a citizen of this country. It doesn't serve. No, you can't do that. I don't know. Maybe they'll take it, but it doesn't. From what I know, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. What doc should take to court to offset and adjust a charge without being a secure party? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know because I don't do things the quick and easy way. So I don't know. You gotta go ask another guru that. If you're looking for microwave remedies, this ain't the place. This ain't the place to come to. If my child is over 18 without a birth certificate, can he be a SPC? First of all, it's a secure party, and a secure party is the creditor. Okay, let me make that clear. Okay, if he's over 18, he has the birth certificate. Go get him some sort of birth certificate. How are you going to evidence that he has some sort of contract with the republic? No. Why don't you provide some sort of birth certificate or something like that? There has to be some, the Bible or something like that would evidence that they are indeed a citizen of this country. Does he have a driver's license? How's he operating in the public right now? Is he operating in the public? What is he just sitting on with you sitting on the couch? How's he handling everything right now? To me, in my opinion, that's a good thing. If you're a young man and you ain't in their system, I'd be striving to maintain that. If you just want me to be honest, I would be doing any and everything I could not to come into their system at all. That's just me, but you can do what you want. Yes, you can add your daughter to your UCC1. Even if you have joint custody, that's your daughter, that's your property too. Can we talk about, for one to be guilty, the mind must be guilty? Yeah, that's mens rea, criminal intent. I mean, that's just basically the subconscious mind never lies. The mind, yeah, the mind. The brain is the organ of the mind. We're not talking about the brain, we're talking about the mind. Mens rea, criminal intent. They tell you that all the time, criminal intent. They have to be able to prove your mind is guilty, and that's why they can take you on the stand and question you. And that's also why they say, hey, if you take a plea, so we don't have to go through all that because you know you're guilty, so just take this plea. Oh, okay, so we got to go through this. I got to prove that you're guilty. So I question your mind and ferret out in your mind when you know that you're guilty. And that's why they hit you with the bigger penalty. I'm here after I got a lawyer to probate my grandmother's will. My dad, beneficiary, died shortly after without a will. Probate lawyer led me to foreclosure, slaughter, then removed himself from the case. That's exactly what they do. Y'all better listen to this Stormy Mahone right here. Y'all better listen to that. I can't tell you how many times I had a friend of mine who was an attorney, and I gave a couple. I was helping with a foreclosure. I've been helping him for 2 years. I gave it over to him. He lost the house within 1 month, within 30 days. It's almost like they switch on some type of mindset, like they it's like they plants or something. I don't know. It's like they undercover agents. As soon as you walk out the room, they call it into the home office. He was in my office and blah blah. That's what it seems like to me. you know so he ain't lying about that. Any knowledge on the process through probate? No, I mean, I try to avoid probate. Probate, it's like, it's how the property, you don't title the property in your name. You title the property in another entity like a trust. Okay, not even a will. A will is not ironclad. If the siblings come in and want to contest it in some kind of way, it could still end up in probate. That's why you need some sort of irrevocable trust. Some sort of irrevocable trust you put it in. You got to shift all liability from yourself, all ownership interest in that entity so it can pass to successive generations to your posterity unmolested by the legal system. I don't know what the difference between a certificate of live birth and a birth certificate is. We don't have a certificate of live births in Texas. Well, I say long form and short form. That's what I say. The long form has all the birth certificate numbers on it, the parents' information, and all of that. There's more information on it. But we don't have that over here in Texas. See, you going off of your state. You go find out from your people what it means. Because that's another myth that y'all got passing around, that live certificate of live birth and birth certificate are two separate things. Nah, man. It's just a short form and a long form. Because we don't have a certificate of live birth in Texas. Ain't that right, Texans? We don't have that. So you tell me. So what do we have here in Texas? You tell me. But I do have a short form and a long form. We got a short form birth certificate and a long form. And neither one of them say certificate of live birth. I say, yeah, I got a 9-8 number. Why do y'all think having a 9-8 number is not a big deal? It's not a big deal. The number 9-8 just tells you what campus issued the number. The first two digits of any EIN number just tell you who issued the number. If all y'all who get caught up on 9-8 and 4-5, that's all it means. It just tells you who issued the number. 9-8, it may not be 9-8. It may be 9-9. It might be 9-7. All 9-8 is just a generic term we use to describe an EIN number that was issued without the use of a social security number, because it is a foreign entity. So it wouldn't have a social security number. All right. That's all it is. And getting one is very easy, especially when you deal in private trust. I have several. Several. It's not hard to get it all. Um, What subjects do you think are important in a homeschool curriculum? Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Definitely grammar, mathematics, reading and reading comprehension, and I think civics. Civics is important. Is vitally important. This stuff should be. We should be. They should be teaching law starting in elementary school, and it should be available to everybody. Just for the fact they don't do that is their attempt to try to keep it exclusive. They're trying to keep some type of information from the general public. Okay, you just put a Supreme Court declaring that the federal tax is unconstitutional. That's an 1895 ruling. It has no application today. That ain't even good law no more. That's not good law because we're in a different jurisdiction. They took it to a private jurisdiction. They operating out of a private jurisdiction. That's when they were operating in the republic. They operate in a private jurisdiction now. You ain't gonna find me a modern case with a modern year that says that. Just because you pull something from 1895, things have changed. The jurisdictions have shifted around. They didn't learn more. That's what the government does. They go to court and when they lose, and and the Supreme Court tell them why they lose. They make the necessary adjustments. That's why you had tax amendments from like 1918 to 1926. Okay, that accounted for a private trust, and you got people still walking around here thinking that a private trust don't get taxed. They done already accounted for private trust because using Federal Reserve notes. They don't care what the entity is. That's where the form versus substance doctrine came in. Okay, they don't give a damn what type of entity you got. They want to know what kind of transactions that you are engaging in, what is being used for that transactions, and who is in the transaction. And if you do any transactions effectively connected with a trade or business within the United States, there's going to be a reporting obligation and possibly a tax that has to be paid. And I see no way anybody can make any argument against that. I don't care what kind of guru. You go dig up a guru that does, they don't know what they're talking about. Because they don't know public and private. They ain't been in them law books. You need to study administrative law. They ain't been in the books. They just regurgitating what a lot of people in here are doing, just regurgitating stuff they heard other people say. They haven't done any real study on it. They just, because the majority of people do not go to the law library. The majority of people today use the internet. So when you're dealing with a person that only does their research on the internet, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. They know very little. You got to get in that law library and pull them books off the shelf. And you got to read them. You got to read the case citations. You got to do just a hunt for some case law. Then when you start hunting for case law, that right there, you're doing serious research at that point. Now you're learning a lot because you're allowing the people who are supposed to be teaching you law to teach you law, and that is the judges. Okay, we have a legislative, executive, and judicial branch of government. Okay, the legislature writes the laws, the executive enforces the laws, and the judicial interprets the laws. Would it make sense for you to allow the people who have been given the constitutional authority to interpret the law to teach you the law? And they will do it. They're not as corrupt as you think they are. Yeah, they swear oaths on the Bible and they ain't supposed to. It tell you right in the Bible, don't swear an oath on the Bible. That's crazy. That's one thing that I see that's real crazy. That's because it's kind of like a satanic system. It be blatant contradictions that they be engaging in. They do it, but you see what they're doing. They making society become immoral. You're in an immoral society today. People don't have morals. They don't have any spiritual principles that they operate off of. Like a lot of trolls that be in the chat room. You can look in how they write stuff, and you can see that they don't have no spiritual grounding. You could be. We possibly could even be. You don't even know who's in the chat. It could be extraterrestrials in this motherfucker talking to you. You don't know, a reptilian. With tail going and everything, sitting there typing on the keyboard, asking me questions. You don't know who they are. You don't know who everybody is. It says, "What's up, bro? That 98 number is what we use in place of the social. That's my biggest issue right now, operating with that social." Well, I mean, it don't have to be the 98 number. I don't use my 98 number in place of my social. Okay. That's a business number. I use it for conducting business with. Okay. There are other numbers like a CPN that you could use, maybe some 4 or 5 numbers or something to that effect. And you, not to say that you can't use it, but I think that the 98s, and when you look into you should read Secrets of the Social Security number and see the chart on there, how they issue Social Security numbers, because there are certain series of numbers that the Social Security Administration has not even issued. And I think 98 is a part of that series. So just saying. Let me say this too about a CPN for everybody looking, because you're going to people say that having a CPN is illegal, which is total bullshit. Because when you read the articles, what they try to do is they try to make it seem like you got a CPN from somebody's social security number, from a dead baby, or from a prisoner in a prison. Look, I've watched CPN numbers be created the right way. And the right way it's created is you're going to ensure that it doesn't belong to anyone. That's what the SSN validator was for. You could go to ssnvalidator.com and you can put a number in and you can see if it's been issued or not. Okay. If it's been issued, they're not going to use that CPN number. Why would they just pick numbers out of that? If there was a case, you could just take somebody's social security number. You could go to SSN Validator and just find any number and assign it to anybody. That's how stupid that is. That's stupid. Why would you use a number that belongs to somebody else? That don't even make any sense. That was a part of people getting fake IDs, but that was like 20 years ago. That's an archaic way of getting a fake ID. You use a dead baby's birth certificate that's close to yours. It might still work. I don't know. And using an inmate that's in jail, using their information. That probably still work too. I don't really know. But it's been around for a long time. But that's not how CPN numbers operate. And they know that's not how they operate. And you could go to the FBI mortgage 2008 fraud report, and it tells you right there in footer 35 that CPNs are legal. The government has allowed CPNs used for reporting purposes, and you can't acquire credit with it because the credit bureaus are not governmental entities. They have no inherent right to any of your information. They just data mining companies. So they're trying to make it seem like the credit bureaus are some sort of, have some sort of legal authority or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The credit bureaus, they play that principle of if you play the role of a king, people will start treating you like a king. They have put themselves in the position of king, and all y'all think that they are king. Y'all think a lot of these agencies and people are kings, and they're not, because they're posturing themselves in such a way, and you give them that authority without question. Let's see. The best way to contact me for a consultation is through Cash App. My Cash App is $Yusef L19. $Yusef L19. Put your phone number in the notes and I'll contact you. We used to allow you to use a 98 number, but now they ain't letting that happen no more because y'all done inundated them with 4 or 5 numbers and 98 numbers. They changed everything up. They make changes. They make changes. Like with the passport right now, they making you bring your social security card to the office now. They want to see it because so many people doing that passport process. So, there are things there are changes. If you go in and get an this happens if you get an expedited passport. But y'all know what happened if you just do a passport and wait for it. The spiciest way to call lawyers on their position is by asking them questions and maintain your position. That's how you maintain your position, asking questions. The District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, when used in the regulation in this subpart with respect to services performed after 1960. I don't know where he posted that. Those are territories. Is documenting my childbirth in a Bible sufficient for getting a passport or ID card? I think it should be. I mean, I know that the Bible is a legitimate form of proof of birth. It's a legitimate form of it, so I don't see why it wouldn't be. I've looked in at like with the driver's license, and I know that they will accept it. But you got to prove to them that you don't have one. You don't have, you got to prove that you don't have one. They're going to want some sort of. I'm sure they're going to want some sort of documentation from vital statistics that you don't have a birth certificate. What you think about the Women King? You see the agenda. I ain't even watched the Woman King. As soon as I saw the name, it was an insult. So, and then that the Honey tribe or whatever they were nothing but slavers selling their own people. But the thing was, that wasn't what really bothered me. What bothered me was the fact that they are trying to emasculate the men of other races, and it's quite apparent. And what is really sad to me is my people do not understand who the people that are greenlighting these shows. You hear people talk about things like the Woman King. It's a million people out there blogging about it, but not one single person will ask the question, well, who is greenlighting these shows? And what is their nationality? And what you're going to find is that the people in the music business, in the movies, in the news media, they all from the same group. And then when you go into history of them, like you really should watch Hitler, the greatest story never told. You need to get an alternative view of history and stop letting the people in this country tell it to you, and listen to someone in another country tell you what happened in World War One and World War Two. There's also a Jewish man. His name is Benjamin Friedman. That's Freedman. Benjamin Friedman. I would highly suggest he gave a talk at a hotel in 1969, and I would highly suggest that people listen to that audio because y'all need to understand history in order to understand what's going on today. This is the new world order. It's a new world order that they're implementing. Don't sleep. They're putting in a new world order, and part of that agenda is the emasculation or the effeminization of the male species and the masculization of the women. That's why they doing stuff like the Woman King and put them as police officers and making them mayors and put them in the military and different things like that. They want them masculine. The more masculine acting they are, the fewer children they are. Because another agenda they have is depopulation. Okay, so it's destroying the families. There aren't any marriages. Only about 30% of the people are married right now. You have a 70% of the people out there are not married. Okay, and then they're creating a false value system where the women they want money and wealth and prestige and live in a certain lifestyle. Thus, they only dealing with about 20% of the men. They all having sex with 20% of the men, which is why they all have the same baby daddies. 51% of the men don't even have a child. A lot of y'all men out there, y'all can't even have sex because y'all ain't got what these women want. You ain't got the nice car, you ain't got the jewelry, you ain't got the swag. You can't take them out on dates, can't do things like that. So they all dealing with the top, 3% of earners, 5% of earners on the planet. And that's why you see they have multiple baby daddies and complaining about stuff because a guy who has that many options is not going to be loyal to them. But all this is being fed by feminism, which is what the Woman King that I did not watch. I didn't watch, but how can a woman be king? A woman is a queen. What is that? Just that title, the Woman King. That title is telling you everything. That there's some sort of supplanting that is attempting to happen in the minds of people that a woman can be king. A woman is never king. A woman is a queen. A woman that's king is acting like a man. So I opened up a business trust account and ran my SSN unauthorized. What can I do? And that was 100 on the Woman King agenda. Yeah, that's it. That's the agenda to have. As soon as I seen the name, you can see it. I mean, they inundated us. I don't know what you say. Open up a business trust account and they ran. Oh, well, they ran your SSN. You gave it to them. Why'd you give it to them? That's one of the things of learning how to deal privately, knowing when to give information and not when to give information. You gave it to them. For someone who hasn't completely, I mean, they found it some kind of way. For someone who hasn't completely completed, I guess, the SP process, which route would you think a best to handle some traffic tickets? Use abatement at common law by Don Quixote, get some practice, And so you can learn right to travel. Because if that's what you want to do, you want to fight a traffic ticket. Because we don't fight. I don't fight. You said fight a traffic ticket. We accept traffic tickets for value and consideration. We don't fight. We don't foster an argument over here. But if you do want to challenge or fight or do something like that, you have Don Quixote's abatement of common law, which is a very good, I would say, a foundation for people to learn how to fight traffic tickets. Very good. Do public officials swear on the Bible? Yeah, they do. Yin and yang have been out of balance. I feel unnatural doing all this fighting. Like we are the divine masculine at where are the divine masculine at to protect me? I have plants to listen, plants to learn. I don't know what that. Yeah, but I mean, I understand that. I mean, men are allowing it. I mean, you watching some of these shows. I'm listening to this one guy. He's on a show. He's talking about. I don't believe a man should lead all the time. I think there are times if a woman's making more money that we need to follow her goals and her path. And I need to be supportive of her. And you just see this role switching. Dudes becoming house dads and things like that. Not a housewife, they're a house dad or a house husband, or something like that, where the woman goes to work and they stay home and take care of the kids. That's what they're fighting for right now. They're trying to make it this equality thing. These men don't know some of the other nefarious purposes of this equality thing is they're gonna try to get y'all to start staying home and taking care of the kids. It's gonna like, okay, well, I think you should stay home and take care of the kids while I go to work. There needs to be you haven't been listening to what these feminists been saying? They gonna totally cut off y'all nuts, man. I don't even understand how a man. I don't understand how a man could tolerate something like a phrase toxic masculinity. How could you let somebody say something like that around you, especially a person who's not a man or somebody who's gay or something like that? Shouldn't it be obvious that you're being attacked? How can you be a man? How can you call yourself a man? How can you call yourself a man if you think, it's 50-50? You're looking for something 50-50 when you're by nature, you are a provider and protector. Okay. How are you going to protect anyone without masculinity? How can you even, basically shift the duty of provision or of getting provisions over to the female and still feel like you're a man? I just, I don't, there's just some things I don't understand. I don't understand it. This is not masculinity. This is some bitch ass shit. Okay, this is some motherfucker that's up there. They didn't created this. They didn't created some, they didn't created some type of these legislators and people like that. They've been infiltrated with a certain mindset. Okay, and now they're coming out, and they're trying to redefine what it means to be a man. It's like, and redefine what it means to be a woman. And you have these students who have been infected by this in these liberal colleges. They coming out and trying to actually foster serious debates around these issues. And they are totally devoid of any foundation in any type of natural law or natural law principle whatsoever. Okay. One of the natural law principles is polarity. There are two sides to everything, not 4, 5, and 6. There's a masculine and feminine agenda, the gender principle. There's not no masculine and feminine in something else. So you can label these people insane. This is insanity. They not making a cogent argument, posing, trying to convince you that it's okay that why call me they or them or other or something. And if I don't call you that, then that's some sort of assault. I heard somebody telling Jordan Peterson, that he was like assaulting him for not calling him another pronoun and everything. I'm like, this is insanity. It's insanity. And y'all sitting idly by allowing it to happen. It's insanity. Is the Bible supreme law of the land, and that's why public officials swear on it. The Bible, the principles in the Bible are the supreme law of the land. See, the thing about it is okay, when you look at the Bible, they have a Masonic Bible, okay, too. All right, it's the principles in there because when you look at the stories in the Bible, some of the stories are like or like allegories and things of that nature. But there's a principle that it contains. And that principle it contains is what gives it its universality, which gives it its immutability, because it's rooted in something immutable. That's an immutable law. Okay, so it's just not the Bible, the laws that are in the Bible, the 613 laws that are in the Old Testament. It's not that. It's the principles that those laws are derived from. Remember, when you write up a law, that law is a result of some principle. It rests on some principle. So all those 613 laws in the Old Testament rest on the principles, and it's the principles that one has to learn how to grasp in order to understand God's law. Because too many of y'all are wrapped up in religion. And if you do any kind of comparative religious study, you're going to see the same principles contained in all of them. I don't know if I need to go any deeper in that. I was reading One Man Out for like fourth time, and I see that they use the word antimony a couple of times throughout the paperwork. Could you explain what it means? It means a contradiction in law. It means two statutes that are trying to address the same thing and they contradict each other. It's a contradiction. I call it antinomy, or they call it antimony, antinomy. A contradiction between two beliefs or conclusions that are in themselves reasonable. A paradox. There are not many short novels capable of accommodating bewildering antinomies. Let me see what the legal definition of it is. A term used in civil law to signify the real or apparent contradiction between two laws or two decisions. So I was right. Okay, what do you do when you get a demand to pay from a lawyer? Does it mean they attempt to collect a debt? Yeah. Anytime that you owe someone, what is it? OCGA. I'm gonna read it out of the Georgia statute. I like to read it from the statute. Title 18 in Georgia, which is creditor and debtor. What does it say? It says, dang, this thing is not working. Oh, Check. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, calm down, calm down. I got it. Man, I got it. I got it. Should be back on. Okay. I know. I see. I see. Can y'all hear me? Check, check, check. Oh, shoot. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay, is that it? An echo. All right, back up. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, what did y'all didn't hear? I was just all I was doing was reading Matthew 5:33 through 37 about the yes and the no. Check, 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 check. Say, make sure my mic's plugged in. It's plugged in. Oh man, I got